Next one we'll see concentration of a solution. So as you people know that relative proportion of solute and solvent is different and it can be varied, as we have studied in our last activity, that we saw that in these two beaker there is difference in the intensity of color. So the sets of these two beakers are different because the amount of CuSO4 mixed with water in beaker A is different from the amount of CuSO4 mixed with water in beaker B. That is why we can say that for making copper sulfate solution or for making any solution, the amount of the solute particle and the amount of the solvent for making the solution is different in different solution. Similarly happen in copper sulfate solution also. For making copper sulfate solution, different amount of CuSO4 can be added in water to form different CuSO4 solution. So we can say that the amount of the solute keep on changing for making the solution. Hence this statement that relative proportion of solute and the solvent can be varied is very much correct. Hence we can define the concentration of solution as the amount of solute present in a given amount of solution, or in other way also we can define concentration of solution as amount of solute dissolved in a given mass or volume of the solvent. So by this definition we have come to know that concentration of a solution is solute dependent. If we add less amount of solute in a solvent for making a solution, then that solution is called as low concentrated solution, and if we add large amount of solute in a solvent for making a solution, then that solution is called highly concentrated solution. Hence we can again divide solution into three types based on the solution's concentration or the amount of solute present in the solvent. I repeat, solution can again be classified into three types based on the solution's concentration or based on the amount of solute present in the solution. So what are the three types are? These are, first is dilute solution, second is concentrated solution, and third is saturated solution. Now one by one we will come to know what is a dilute solution. So when solute is added in less amount to form a solution, then that solution is called dilute solution. If less amount of solute is added in a solvent for making a solution, then that solution is called dilute solution. Similarly, when large amount of solute is added in a solvent for making a solution, then that solution is called concentrated solution. Okay. Now third one is saturated solution. Saturated solution are those solution in which we add solute in so much amount as much as a solvent is capable of dissolving. We can also define it another way. The saturated solution is a solution where no more solute can be dissolved in the solution at given temperature. So we will understand all the definitions, all these terms by taking one activity. We'll see one activity. So we will take three beakers, beaker A, beaker B and beaker C, as you can see in the diagram. Okay. So we have taken beaker A, beaker B and beaker C. In beaker A we will take 50 ml of water, and similarly in beaker B and beaker C. So all the beakers are having 50 ml of water in it. Now in beaker A we will add some sugar particles in it and we will mix it thoroughly so that it forms a sugar solution. Similarly, in beaker B, we will add full 1 spatula of sugar particles in it and we will mix it thoroughly. Again, we will see that we'll get the sugar solution. In beaker C also, we will add 1 spatula of sugar particles and again we will mix it thoroughly and we'll get the sugar solution. Now, all the beakers are having sugar solution in it. Now, what is the difference between 3 beakers? Hence, we have added very less amount of sugar in water. So we can say that this solution in beaker A is called as the dilute solution. Whereas in beaker B, we added 1 full spatula of sugar in water. So we can say that the sugar solution what we got in beaker B is a concentrated solution because we have added more amount of sugar in it. So you can say that concentration of sugar solution is more in beaker B than the beaker A. Now in beaker C, we added 1 spatula of sugar particles to form the sugar solution. So here also the concentration is high. What we do in beaker C, we will add 1 more spatula of sugar in it and we'll start stirring it to mix it, and we will see that we'll get the sugar solution. Again, all the sugar particles got mixed nicely in to form the solution. So here now we can say that the sugar solution what we got in beaker C is highly concentrated than beaker B and than beaker A. That means out of these 3 beakers, now the beaker C is highly concentrated sugar solution than beaker B and than beaker A. Why it is so? Because here we added more sugar particles than beaker B and than beaker A. Now what we do is we will add 1 more spatula of sugar particles in this beaker and we will try to make the sugar solution. We will see that again all the sugar particle got mixed nicely to form the sugar solution. So till now we have added 3 spatula of sugar particles in beaker C. What we do, we again add 1 spatula full of sugar particles. So this time we are adding 4th spatula of sugar particles in it. What we see that now when we add sugar particle in the beaker, sugar particles do not get dissolved here in the solvent, and you can see some of the sugar particles just spread or getting settled down at the bottom. So here we can say that the solute as a sugar particle cannot be dissolved in the solvent at this temperature. So here this solution where no more sugar can be dissolved in the solution at a given temperature, so this type of solution is called as saturated solution. I think you would have understood now what is the difference between a saturated solution and a concentrated solution and a dilute solution. So you should understand it that saturated solution is a solution where no more solute can be dissolved anymore in the solution at a given temperature, because now the solvent is not capable of dissolving any more sugar particle in it. So that type of solution where no more solute can be dissolved anymore in the solution, so that solution is called as saturated solution. Hence, dilute solution can also be called as less concentrated solution. So if you are asked to choose the solution having highest concentration, so how will you do that? So out of 3 beakers, the solution contained in beaker C is of highest concentration than beaker B and than beaker A. So the solution C is highly concentrated. Now B is less concentrated and A is least concentrated solution. Okay. Now you have one more term to study, that is unsaturated solution. How will we define unsaturated solution? So here we saw that solvent was capable of dissolving 3 spatulas of sugar particle in it. So till that time the solution was unsaturated solution, and the time we added 4th spatula of sugar particle in the solvent particle, then that time the solution became the saturated solution. So like that we can define the unsaturated solution as the amount of solute contained in the solution is less than the saturation level, then that solution is called unsaturated solution. Less than the saturation level means the solution less than the addition of 4th spatula of sugar particle in the solvent. Understood? So the solution in which 3 spatula of solute particles mixed to form the solution, so that time the solution was, till that time the solution was unsaturated solution, and when we added 4th spatula of sugar particle in the solvent and solvent was not capable of dissolving the 4th spatula of sugar particles anymore, so that time the solution became the saturated solution. Okay, so likewise we can also define the solubility. Solubility is the amount of solute present in the saturated solution at this temperature is called its solubility, or is called the solution's solubility. So here we saw that in 50 ml of water how much solute particle is capable to get dissolved in the solvent. So that shows the solubility of the solute particle in the solvent, or that shows the solubility of the solution. Solubility of the solute in the given solution depends on the temperature. That means on rising the temperature, the solubility of solute in the given saturated solution increases, and on lowering the temperature or on cooling, the solubility of the solute in the given saturated solution decreases. Also, different substances or different solute in a given solvent have different solubility at the same temperature. For example, if we have some sugar to dissolve in 50 ml of water, and if we have some salt to dissolve in again 50 ml of water, so we have two beakers A and B. In beaker A, we keep adding sugar crystals to dissolve in 50 ml of water. Now a condition comes when no more sugar can be dissolved in the solvent. So that means we have got the saturated sugar solution. Here also in beaker B, we keep adding salt crystals in 50 ml of water to get dissolved. And here also one condition comes when no more salt crystals can be dissolved in 50 ml of water anymore. So there also we get, that means we get the saturated salt solution. Now we will see how much sugar is dissolved in 50 ml of water and how much salt crystals is dissolved in 50 ml of water. So from the observation we come to know that the amount of the sugar dissolved in 50 ml of water is more than the amount of salt crystals dissolved in 50 ml of water. So from this observation we can say that the solubility of the sugar in 50 ml of water at a given temperature is more than the solubility of salt crystal in 50 ml of water at the same temperature. That's why it is said that different solute, means salt or sugar, etc., in a given solvent, that is in water, have different solubility at the same temperature. Now what we do is we start heating both the beakers. When we start heating both the beakers means we are increasing the temperature of the solvent, increasing the temperature of the water. So what happens, whatever the undissolved sugar was there and whatever the undissolved salt crystals was there, they start getting dissolved on heating. Even you can add some more sugar crystals to get dissolved, and here also you can add some more salt crystals to get dissolved. So here we can see that if the solution is heated, the crystals, that is salt or sugar etc., will dissolve in the solvent and no longer will be visible. So you cannot see any sugar crystal or salt crystal visible. On heating, all the sugar and all the salt crystal that was undissolved before have been dissolved on heating. Now what we do is we start cooling it slowly, both the beakers. That means we start decreasing the temperature of the solution. What we'll see that we will observe that whatever the undissolved sugar dissolved and whatever the sugar we added on heating, it start reappearing. The crystal you can see reappearing on cooling. So you can see the precipitate of sugar crystals and here precipitate of salt crystals on cooling. What does it mean? It shows that when the solution is cooled slowly, we get the precipitate, that is crystals start appearing, and it shows that upon cooling or upon decreasing the solubility of the solute, that is sugar, salt etc., in the saturated solution decreases. So you have various ways of expressing concentration of solution. So as per your syllabus, you have two ways given for expressing the concentration of a solution. So we can calculate the concentration, or we can express the concentration of a solution by first mass by mass percentage of a solution, and second by mass by volume percentage of a solution. So expressing concentration of solution in terms of mass by mass percentage, and the formula is mass by mass percentage of a solution is equal to mass of the solute by mass of the solution into 100. And if you have to express the concentration of a solution by in terms of mass by volume percentage of a solution, so it can be expressed mass by volume percentage is equal to mass of the solute divided by the volume of the solution into 100. So we will see some examples and we'll try to get the concentration of a solution in by both the ways. So if you have an example here, a solution contains 40 gram of common salt in 320 gram of water. That means 40 gram of common salt, which is a solute, is dissolved in 320 gram of water. That means the amount of solute is how much? 40 gram, and it is dissolved in 320 gram of water. That means solvent. So the amount of mass of the solvent is 320 gram. So mass of the solute is 40 gram and mass of the solvent is 320 gram. Now what is asking? Calculate the concentration in terms of mass by mass percentage of the solution. So we have to calculate the concentration of a solution in terms of mass by mass percentage. So we have to use this formula. So mass by mass percentage is equal to mass of solute by mass of solution into 100. So we know the mass of solute, but we do not know the mass of solution. So we will calculate from what is given. But first we'll see in the question what is given. So mass of solute is given. Mass of solute, that is mass of common salt, is 40 gram as per the question given. And mass of solvent is also given, that is mass of water is 320 gram. Now we have to calculate first as per the formula. You can see mass of solute we know, that is 40 gram. But mass of solution we have to calculate, then only we can put the value. So mass of solution is equal to mass of solute plus mass of the solvent, that is 40 gram plus 320 gram. 40 gram plus 320 gram. So we will add and we'll get 360 gram. So mass of solution we got, it is 360 gram. We will put this. Mass of solute is 40 gram So value will put here, divided by mass of solution. How much? 360 gram. 360 divided by 360 gram into 100. So when we solve this, we'll get 11.1%. That means concentration of a solution in terms of mass by mass percentage of a solution is equal to 11.1%. One more example. Calculate the concentration in mass by volume percentage when dissolving 120 gram of sodium chloride, that is NaCl, into a certain amount of water to make 3 liters of the solution. So here we have to calculate the concentration of solution in terms of mass by volume percentage. So what is given in the question? The mass of solute is given, that is 120 gram, and what is the mass and what is the overall volume of the solution? It is 3 liters. So mass of solute is 120 gram and volume of the solution is 3 liters. But for calculating in terms of mass by volume percentage, you should have mass in grams and you should have volume of the solution in ml. So you have to convert liters into ml. So how will you convert? When you multiply with 1000, you will get the ml. So 3 into 1000, how much you will get? 3000 ml. So as per the formula, mass by volume percentage is equal to mass of the solute divided by the volume of solution into 100. Mass of solute is 120 gram divided by volume of solution in ml, that is 3000 ml into 100. You will get 4. So the answer is 4%. So the concentration of solution in terms of mass by volume percentage is 4%. So this is the answer. So like that you can have different examples also by which you can calculate the concentration of solution in terms of either in terms of mass by mass percentage or in terms of mass by volume percentage. So till now we studied the one form of homogeneous mixture, that is a solution. In solution we studied components of solution, that is solute and solvent. Then we studied different types of solution based on the state of solute and solvent mixed in it, that is solid liquid solution, liquid liquid solution, gas gas solution, liquid gas solution, solid gas solution, like that. Then we studied different properties of solution. We also studied about the concentration of a solution and various ways to express the concentration. So there we studied 2 different ways to express the concentration, that is in terms of mass by mass percentage and in terms of mass by volume percentage. Then we studied types of the solution based on its concentration, that is dilute solution, concentrated solution, saturated solution, unsaturated solution, like that. Then we studied about the solubility of a solution and the effect of the temperature on its solubility. So these things we studied in the solution. Now we have one more topic, that is one of the form of heterogeneous mixture, that is called suspension. So how can we define a suspension? A suspension is a heterogeneous mixture in which solute-like particles do not dissolve but remain suspended. They remain spread, suspended throughout the bulk of the medium. So here we must not use solute particles because solute or a solvent is a component of a solution. So whenever we are defining suspension, we should use constituent particle as solute-like particles. Okay. So we have different examples of suspension. Some of the examples I have written, like chalk water mixture, oil water suspension, sand water suspension, etc. Now like solution, there are different properties of suspensions also. So what are the properties of suspension? We'll see one by one. First property is it is a heterogeneous mixture in which the constituent particles are mixed ununiformly throughout the medium or heterogeneously throughout the medium. Second property is its particles are larger than 1000 nanometer in diameter, so they can be seen by naked eyes. So particle size in suspension are very larger as compared to solution, that is more than 1000 nanometer. That is why the constituent particles or solute like particles can be seen by the naked eyes. Now third property is because of the larger particle size, particles scatter a beam of light passing through the medium and make the path of light beam visible. As we discussed last class only, how larger particle size of the mixture makes the beam of light visible when it is passed through the medium of the mixture. Okay. Then fourth property is the solute like particles get settled down when a suspension is left undisturbed. Because the mixture constituent particles are not mixed uniformly or homogeneously, so when we keep the suspension for left undisturbed for some time, you can see the solute like particles get settled down at the bottom of the vessel. That is why a suspension is unstable. Understood? Okay. Next property is they can be separated from the mixture by filtration process. Yes, the constituent particles or the solute like particles can be separated from the mixture by simple filtration process, and the reason is same as the constituent particles are not mixed uniformly, and you can see solute particles getting settled down at the bottom, so they can be separated out simply by filtration process. More form of heterogeneous mixture is a colloidal solution. Colloidal solution is a heterogeneous mixture whose particles are uniformly spread throughout the medium. It is a special type of heterogeneous mixture because its most of the properties are similar to that of the suspension, but because colloidal solution appears like homogeneous mixture due to its relatively smaller particle size. So example we can have colloidal solution is milk, ink, fog, smoke, blood, etc. So one by one we'll see the different properties of colloidal solution. Colloidal solution is a heterogeneous mixture. It is categorized under heterogeneous mixture because here the particles are just spread throughout the medium. They are not in the form of solution. Now second property is mixture appears like homogeneous. As I told you now, they appear like homogeneous due to the relatively smaller particle size, which is between 1 nanometer to 1000 nanometer in diameter. Okay, so here we can see the particle size are not as much larger as that of the suspension. It is between 1 nanometer to 1000 nanometer. That is why mixture appear homogeneous. Okay. Now third property is due to smaller particle size, they cannot be seen by naked eyes. So we can't see any particle visible in the mixture or getting settled down at the bottom. That is why we can't see the particles of colloidal solution through our naked eyes. Though they are able to scatter beam of light passing through the medium and make its path visible. So though the size of the particles are smaller, but they are comparatively larger than the particles of solution. That is why particles of colloidal solution provide enough surface area to the beam of light to scatter itself in different direction and make its path visible through the colloidal solution. Okay. Now next property is this one, particles do not settle down when left undisturbed. Yeah, this is because of the same reason that due to the smaller particle size, this appears like homogeneous, and so particles do not settle down when they left undisturbed for some time. Hence colloids are called quite stable. Okay. Now next is they cannot be separated by the process of filtration due to the same reason that the particles, you cannot see physically distinct particle in the colloidal solution. That is why by simple filtration the particles cannot be separated. But there is a special technique to separate the particles of colloidal solution, and that special technique is centrifugation. Centrifugation is a very important technique where we can separate different components of the colloidal solution, and it has a great application in medical field, especially where the different components, different constituent particles of blood can be separated out. Okay, so these are some of the properties of colloidal solution. So as we discussed different two components of solution, that is solute and solvent, here also colloids are made up of two components, and they are similar to solute and solvent, but they are called as what? Dispersed phase and dispersing medium. These are the two components of colloid. What is dispersed phase? Dispersed phase are like solute components of a colloidal solution, and dispersing medium are like just like the solvent component, solvent like component in the colloidal solution. So they act like solvent like component, and dispersing medium acts like the dispersed phase act like the solute like components, and dispersing medium act like solvent component. Okay, so we can just understand by taking one example. Blood is a colloid, and it is made up of two components, that is dispersed phase and dispersing medium. Now here the dispersed phase is in the form of solid liquid state, and here dispersing medium is in the form of water. Okay, why dispersed phase in liquid solid state? Because dispersed phase contains RBC, red blood cell, WBC, white blood cell, platelets, and it also contains some fat, digested food particles, etc. So the dispersed phase are in liquid and solid state both. Whereas the dispersing medium contains the plasma or the liquid component of the blood, so it is in the form of water, or we can say in the form of liquid states. So blood is a colloid which is in the form of solid, liquid, dispersed phase and dispersing medium respectively. Okay, so based on the state of dispersed phase or dispersing medium present in the colloid, we can hence classify colloids into different types, that is solid liquid colloid, liquid colloid, solid gas colloid, like that.